Mustafi. Bellerin! Brilliant! 2-2!
Hector Bellerin.
Right, everybody. It was a roller coaster of a week for the Arsenal Football Club. They went from a great high, notching a third win in the Europa League, pretty much putting themselves into the next round, won 3 out of 3. We all look forward to a home match against Aston Villa. Club watch out onto the pitch with an opportunity to put themselves into the top 5, leave themselves top 6, leave themselves only a couple points off the top of the league going into the international break. And we stumbled into easily the worst performance of Mikel Arteta's tenure as manager. So we enter the break with probably far more questions than we had or that we wanted a week ago. But here we are. Welcome to the latest edition of Saved by the Bellerin, the Arsenal football video cast here on the Sports Talk 9 Network. I'm Raphael, joining you from the United States. Got the full contingent back. Let's welcome him back. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hello, mate. I hope you're doing well. Thank you.
I am. I hope we had better circumstances to bring you back, but it's good to have you back. And of course, right below me in the secret square is Sam. Welcome back, Sam.
Hello, sir. So,
All right,
it's a tough day today.
It's a tough day, but let's go into it. Again, we have to take the temperature here. You know, is this a lot? I think because there was so much anticipation, because there was so much fans figured, here's the launching pad, here's the jump, we're going to make the move, and then nothing went right on Sunday. We've got to keep some perspective because there is a lot of knee-jerking going on. But let's start with you, Sam. This match really kind of brought to a head a lot of problems that we've identified in the past, starting with slow starts, lack of energy in the first 30 minutes, in the first halves of matches.
Yeah, and well, if it wasn't for VAR, we would literally have been 1-0 down in the first minute, and we really got caught there. Just to really break this down, there was a lack of movement when defending. It was basic. It's a long ball from their kickoff, long ball into our half. We have a throw in. We throw it up the line, play it back to our centre backs, launch it upfield, so we're immediately losing the ball, which we've got absolutely no reason to, because as we know, Arsenal are supposed to be a possession side, and we're comfortable on the ball. Ball gets switched over to the opposite flank. You have Rob Holding coming out, standing off Jack Grealish. Then you've also got Ross Barkley over there. They toyed with us for that goal. They literally toyed with us, and I'm at a loss with Rob Holding's defending sometimes, because yes, okay, as a centre back, you do need to stand up and stand the person up as well, just to give them a bit of time. But you don't do bloody dance moves towards the person. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand his defending style. It's ridiculous. Having said that, we all know how good Jack Grealish is. He can go outside, he can go inside. Willian should have doubled up to help Rob out, to try and win the ball there. Bellerin, again, he's behind Rob Holding, but he's probably about 3 yards away from Rob Holding. He's marking nobody. He can see what's going to happen. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But the thing is there's no defensive urgency to make a challenge. And when the ball finally comes to the edge of the area to John McGinn, Lacazette coming backwards, he had absolutely no need to make a challenge, because it was actually his challenge that diverts the ball to allow John McGinn to unleash the shot. And as I said, lucky for us, it was off, considering John McGinn would have had to take on Thomas Partey, probably our best player of that first half. Yeah, he had to try and take him on, and 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee that he wouldn't try and take on Thomas Partey in that area. He would have passed it on. But it's silly silly mistakes that we're making in defence, and the fact that we do not put any pressure on the ball or even on the player, it's our detriment. And this isn't the first thing. It happens time and time again.
All right, and you put your finger on a point. Ryan, let's bring you in quickly because I know this is something you wanted to address. And we look at it, Gabriel's come in. We praise Gabriel so much. They brought Pablo Mari in. He's still out injured. We are all expecting William Saliba to come up. And we look at the lineup, we look at the numbers, and it's clear Arsenal is still, as much as we hate to say it, they're really thin at the back right now.
Yeah, and the point I wanted to make is these seasoned vets that we've got at the back, Mustafi, Holding is 25 now. Like, there's no excuse for him defending like a schoolboy every week. I know he's only just come back from an injury, but his defending the other night and against United, that it went very much unnoticed because Gabriel had such a good game. His defending 1v1 is terrible. And for me personally, no matter whether Saliba is adapted or not, I'd rather him at 19 be making those mistakes where he's learning from them, and it helps him go to the future to be a proper Arsenal centre-back than these guys that we've given 3, 4, 5 years to already, and they keep making the same mistakes, the same decisions at the back. And I described them before as clowns, and they're still clowns. Mustafi, I don't even want to talk about Mustafi. Holding is slow in recovery. He gets beaten 1v1 way too easily. He has no positional awareness of what's around him. Their third goal, he's let Ollie Watkins just run in behind him. As a centre-back, you should be aware that there's a striker behind you, and he just wasn't. He's pushing too far wide, which then Bellerin has to cover the inside because then we're a man short in the middle. And then 1v1 against a winger, Rob Holding just doesn't have the pace to get back. We clearly missed David Luiz at the centre of the back three the other day. And believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying this. David Luiz, if we're playing a three at the back, has to play. Whether it's a right centre back or the centre of a back three, he has to play because he keeps everything together. Whereas the other mentioned players, I can't believe that I'm still witnessing these kind of mistakes. We saw it through Wenger, we saw it through Emery, and now we're seeing it through Arteta as well. And I think to some extent that Gary Neville's words about defenders being uncoachable is starting to ring true after seeing their performances on Sunday.
All right, and we've talked about this. I'm saving one for Sam, so I'm going to come back to you. We talked about this, that there's been not that much turnover. And we talked about this at the end of the window. There's still too much Deadwood on the squad. Mustafi's still here. Socrates is still here. Holding was going to be going out, and then he had one really good performance that brought him back. And then, we may be reconsidering that. Given who's available, William Saliba played today, and I think you both saw him. Is the problem addressable? You said getting David Luiz back, and hopefully after the break he'll be available. But is this simply a matter of now pushing him and just biting the bullet as they had to with Saka last year when they had no left backs available and they pushed him in and he responded? Is it just now time to bite the bullet and say, okay, it's William Saliba time, let's go? Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not being funny. We can't keep going on with this shambolic defending. The only defender that probably has got any merit from the game is Gabriel. He saved us quite a few times. But just to point out something that Ryan said on their third goal, Rob Holding has the audacity to turn around and moan at Gabriel after their third goal to say, "What are you doing? You should be coming in behind me and covering." And Gabriel's instantly just pointed at Ross Barkley. And within that as well, Danny Ceballos, he needs to take a hard look at himself in that third goal, because Ross Barkley was the same point as him in their half. And whilst they're breaking, Ross Barkley, a player that has played 90 minutes, has burst past Dani Ceballos, a player that has only played 45 minutes that game. And he's created a problem, and Ceballos has taken no responsibility. And that is something that a lot of our centre-backs and a lot of our team need to pick up, is nobody picks up any responsibility in this team, and it's shambolic. And the fact is that in terms of our centre-backs, as Ryan said, I'd much rather a 19-year-old at the back. If he makes a mistake, you can put your hands up and say, fair enough, he's inexperienced, he's young, he's going to make mistakes. But when you're seeing people like Mustafi, Socrates when he was here, Rob Holding defending shambolically, you think to yourself, how are these guys professional footballers at a supposedly top 6 club? It's inexcusable how we defend. And the sooner these guys go, the better. Obviously, as you said, with Rob Holding, he can have very good games, as he has done previously. But to say, yep, you're going out on loan, potentially to a sale, have one good performance, we have a U-turn. Sorry, some questions have got to be asked there. But I think throughout his career, he has some good games, more than often bad games, and some outright terrible games. Can't go on no more.
Let's talk about the mindset again, because a week ago we were talking about going up to Old Trafford, Ryan, being, disciplined, brilliance, outrunning them, outthinking them. It's amazing how we can go from, tactical brilliance, energy, steadfastness to this in the span of a week. And I'm wondering, because I'm looking at this again, are we seeing a problem, which is that this club really doesn't rise to teams that it sees as being below them? This is twice now in the last few months. Villa's come in and really just run circles around them. And I'm starting to scratch my head and say, this club still thinks it's bigger than it is. It has to work its way back to that position. And for a lot of the players, it seems to think they're already there.
I think it's more of a case of the way we are set up at this moment, without a creative midfielder, without that kind of spark in the middle of the pitch and on the wings and whatnot, we are set up as a counter-attacking team. You see on the wings, we have pace, wing backs have pace. And against the big teams, that is going to work tremendously well, because they're going to push forward, and then we have Aubameyang and Willian, Pepe, Lacazette, all on the counter-attack. Whereas when we come up against the likes of Aston Villa and all the lesser sides, if you like, they are setting up to defend our strengths, which we're not really used to, because everyone come to the Emirates, or we play them away, and they're used to turning us over. And that's kind of stopped happening under Arteta. We on our day we beat anyone, but I saw it on Sunday. Villa set up with Matty Cash as their right wing back and Trezeguet as their right winger, and they both sat on Aubameyang so he could not come inside. And our game plan is Saka comes as the left winger, Tierney goes on the outside as the left back, and Aubameyang comes in to make up the numbers in the middle as a second striker. If Aubameyang can't come inside, we can't get down the left because we're overcrowded on that side. And on the other side, we don't have that right-sided centre-back that can travel up the pitch. Because I don't think anyone is going to trust Rob Holding to overlap Hector Bellerin at any time in the future. So our strength is down the left with Saka, Tierney and Aubameyang, and it always has been. So teams are set up like that now to stop that. And we have no answers anywhere on the pitch to counterattack them in a different way. And I think it all comes down to the personnel and the system that we are playing right now.
All right, Sam, let's take this question forward. Ryan was talking about this. You were talking about this. It seems we kind of on that fine line where there is enough talent to fix the back line. It's going to take some hard decisions from the manager and the assistants, and just kind of putting some faith in people we haven't seen so far. Let's talk about the forward line. So much money there. big names there. 9 goals, 8 matches. It's not working. Ryan just gave his talk, but are the players we need in-house? Do they still need to go out? I mean, let's start with Nicola Pepe. It's still head scratching that he's not starting at this point, where we're seeing some really diminishing returns from Willian and from Lacazette through the first 8 matches of the season.
The thing is with Nicola Pepe, he made some comments today along the lines of when he knows that he's not starting throughout the week, at the weekend, he gets frustrated, and it's down to him to make a change in training so the manager selects him. Something along that lines. But my takeaway around his comments is that I need the confidence playing week in, week out to be consistent, and it's true. He has got so inconsistent minutes this season. He can assist and score in the Europa League, come off, doesn't even play 90 minutes in them games, comes off, and then Willian, a guy that's done nothing this season bar Fulham, gets in. I said out on social media after the game, the signing of Willian baffles me. Don't know why he's here. He wasn't needed because we've got in-house solutions to the wings. The less I say about Lacazette, the better, to be perfectly honest.
It's not going to be new. It's not going to be new.
I've made my feelings perfectly clear on that guy. And to be, as we were talking just before the show, and the picture that I put in our WhatsApp, the heading technique of this guy for his chance was disgusting, to say the least. He approaches the ball, he can see it slightly above him, so he, instead of jumping to get over the ball, he decides to stride onto it, put his head down, so he's not even heading it with his forehead, he's heading it literally with the top of his head. So the ball goes flying over. He has got no control over that header. It's basics. Again, I mentioned for the first goal, he doesn't need to be back there defending. Doesn't need to make the challenge. Aubameyang needs to come centrally. There's no two ways about it. Obviously, there's been a few stats flying around and stories flying around since the game saying that Aubameyang is not as prolific as a number 9, doesn't get involved in the build-up play and things like that. But the thing is, that may be true, but he doesn't need to be involved in the build-up play. You look at him in the Bundesliga, where he had a number 10 behind him that can create, 2 wingers. He was outscoring Lewandowski, for Christ's sakes. He's one of the most lethal number 9s in world football. Like, yes, it's all well and good him maybe having the space out wide to cut inside and have shots, but teams are setting up against that now. They've blocked that route. So what are we doing? We're persisting with the same thing. It's madness. Obviously on the left hand side, I'd like Saka to start. But when Martinelli's back, he'll be my main starter on that left hand side. He brings so much dynamic running. The guy never stops. To have him and Saka as rotational options, brilliant. But at the moment, since Saka's gone on England duty, as Ryan said during the week, his crossing ability has gone to pot. Don't know what that's about. But yeah, if we're doing a front line, it has to be Martinelli or Saka, Aubameyang and Pepe. Willian, I wouldn't even have him on the bench right now, to be perfectly honest. Lacazette, I wouldn't even have him on the bench. Both of them need to be completely dropped out of the squad until they both back up their ideas, because quite frankly, not good enough. And just to come back to Lacazette, one thing that's very telling, a guy that's got a year and a half on his contract left, the club hasn't even bothered to open contract negotiations with him. I don't think the club want him here. and that was evident in the summer window because we was open to offers. Roma come into him, but didn't offer up the money suitable. It's about time he goes because, quite frankly, he's causing more harm to this team than good, in my opinion.
Actually, situation that you just outlined, though, because if they're not extending him, and they're made that clear, as you said, there's nothing in the press, there's no evidence anywhere. I'll stay with you, Sam, but quickly. But why start him then? I mean, is it just to inflate his value for the January window? I mean, we posted this during the match, but I don't see the logic in that.
Well, in an ideal world, yes, that would be fantastic logic, but the realism of it is he isn't up for scratch. Eddie Nketiah done more than what Lacazette did in the minutes that he was on the field. With Nketiah, again, we've discussed previously, don't think that he's the one to carry us forward right now. He needs to go out on loan. We need to bring in another striker. Simple as that.
And we'll go back to that in just a moment. Ryan, I want to bring you back, though, and I'll bring both of you guys in because we've discussed this a lot and we want to share it with the audience. But, our midfield, we were so bullish. We seemed that El Neni had found a role and Ceballos had found a space. But in this match, again, it was what we saw with Holding, one step forward, and now it seems two steps back. Our midfield, once Thomas Partey went down at half with a thigh injury, was really found wanting throughout the match. How much is that still a work in progress?
Oh, I said it in a group chat. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, or I should say, it wasn't built in a transfer window. Okay. It's gonna take a couple to get what we need to compete again. We have no one that makes progressive passes forward against a low block. We saw it. El Nene is great when the other team have no players back because there's only one pass you can make forward. Whereas against players that against the team that has 5 at the back or 3 in midfield, you've got 8 players behind the ball. It's hard to make that pass, and only a few players in the world or in the league can actually break down those type of defenses, and we don't have one. And I know people will say, "Oh, we've got one, not even in the squad." I don't think even he would help right now. Obviously, I'm talking about Ozil. I don't even think he would help with the way he was playing before. So we need to find the right player who can have the balance between playing as a number 8 and a number 10, because I think we have a solution indoors with Joe Willock, but he needs to work on his end product quite a bit. But if he can do that, then it saves us a hell of a lot of money.
All right, so Sam, let's bring this back to you. And I know you're talking. Let's just stay with Sam. Is chatting, so I'm going to let him finish the thought. All right. You're ready. Okay. But he brings up a good point about, and this is something we talked about, at the beginning of the show coming in. If we look at Arteta's buys, I mean, his very limited, we were talking about this. He's made 5 players. He's brought in 5 of his own players. 2 of them are really in supporting roles, Pablo Mari and Cedric in the back line, and they're there for rotational purposes. And of course, Mari had that really frustrating injury, that ankle injury, still rehabbing from that. Cedric, as we've seen, he's really there for backup. He's not there we thought he might push Hector, but now he looks like the rotational player. So his big buys have been Gabriel, Thomas Partey, and Willian. And we could say those first 2 have been tonics for this squad, that when they're healthy and they're there, they've really elevated Arsenal. But this is, we look at the Deadwood, we were hoping, we said 10, 12 players could go out. They still have 9 or 10 players that they probably should go out. This is, to echo Ryan's point, this is far from done.
Yeah, exactly. It's very far from done. And the fact of the matter is, as Ryan's already pointed out, it's not done in a day. It's going to happen over time. Obviously, I think 3 of them, Mustafi, Ozil and Socrates, are out of contract in the summer. Right now, coming up to the January window, would I be saying to them, look, get on the phone to other clubs, see whether they want you. If they want you in January, we're happy to release you for nothing. I suspect with Mustafi and Socrates, they'll probably jump at the chance of that. But with Mesut Ozil, he probably wants to sit on that handsome contract. But at the end of the day, it goes down to the fact that it's his attitude towards football. Like I've said it numerous times, his attitude is to be questioned. He's being questioned by 3 managers. It's being questioned in the media. The club have advised him against certain statements. He's ploughed on ahead with them, rightly and wrongly. But football players are under contract. Ultimately, club has final say as the employer. If they're going against that, then what do you expect? He wasn't performing on the pitch. Obviously, Arteta come in with non-negotiables. What they are, nobody really knows. But you look at Ozil and you look at Guendouzi. Guendouzi's out on loan. Ozil is out of the squad. Did either of them conform to them non-negotiables? Right now, we can probably say probably not. So, you know, what more can be done?
Well, let's talk about that. We have 2 windows, Ryan. Let's come back to you. 2 windows now facing Mikel Arteta. All right, he's got a, and these are opportunities. Let's look at him that way. 2 opportunities. First one is this international break where he gets 2 weeks. He can review. You know, we're about next match is a quarter of the way through the season, so he's really probably at the point now where he can say, okay, this is what worked and what didn't. And as you were so detailed at the beginning, you know, when the 3-4-3 works, and now we're seeing when the 3-4-3 doesn't. It really seems, and I'm going to ask both of you this, with these windows, it seems like the 3-4-3 has finally found its limit. It's Mikel's turn now to make his first major adjustment. You know, he brought this formation in, it got him the FA Cup, it got him back into Europa League. It let him go out and buy these 2 great players that he got in the summer window, because Arsenal's is kicking in Europe, barely, but they're there. What do you do in the short term? What do you do in the 2 weeks? And then what do you push to edge you and say, okay, we need this in January, in your opinion? I'm going to start with you, and Sam, you're going to get the same question. But let's start with you. In the 2 weeks and in January, 2 months.
I think in the 2 weeks that Arteta has now, he needs to find the right balance for his attack, because clearly something is not working. I think we have the least shots in the league. I think we're 19th in total shots and XG created chances and stuff like that, which for Arsenal Football Club is diabolical. So he needs to find the right balance of his attack, because I don't think it's balanced at all with Aubameyang, Lacazette and Willian. I think he needs to find the balance up front, and then he needs to sacrifice something defensively, because we're great going like, we kept a clean sheet at Old Trafford. We only kept City to 1 goal. That's not good enough. We need to start beating teams and absolutely pasting them, rather than scraping a 1-0 against Sheffield United or 3-0 at home to Dundalk. No disrespect to those teams. We should be absolutely slapping them at home. It should be a massacre. But especially with the players that we have, and it just hasn't. So I think in the short term, he needs to find a balance in defending well, but also attacking well. We sacrifice going forward. Now it's time to sacrifice something little at the back to make sure we attack better.
What is that, in your opinion? What is that sacrifice? How is it embodied?
I think it's maybe stop playing with 2 central defensive midfielders and only play with 1, and allow Tierney and Bellerin just to go really high and wide. So it allows whoever playing on the wing, because it will allow Pepe to come inside. It will allow Saka to come inside, and obviously Aubameyang as a number 9. We've got the most lethal striker in the Premier League as his best position, and then you've got the wide players to create for him, and it just creates confusion in the opposition defence. because you don't know where these players are going to come from. So I think that's the short-term goal, is to get the balance right.
Okay, let's hold it right there. I'm going to let Sam do the short term. Then we'll come back to both of you for the long term. When this window is over in 2 weeks, Sam, what do you hope the manager realizes and does? Because as we've said, things are not working.
Yeah, I think realistically, we need to find a balance in the centre of midfield. I don't think it's a balance in defence, to be perfectly honest. It's the balance in centre midfield. For me, I would have a change of formation to a 4-2-3-1. But the person playing in number 10, I'm going to probably go against what most people will say, and I'd have Joe Willock in that position. When we're attacking, obviously he'd be making third-person runs, but when we're defending, he comes back and feeds into a free in the middle of the park. So you still got that defensive stability in the middle. But when we're attacking, obviously we're very quick on our counter-attack when we're on form. It's a case of when we're doing that, we need somebody to make up and do that third-person run, because with our attack, it's too predictable. It's always down the left-hand side. We're trying to overload, get down the side of teams, but there's nothing realistically saying that we're going to score from that, because we've got static attackers in their box. So if somebody's making a third-person run and a late run into the box, it's going to cause a bit of panic in opposition's defences. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think the 3-4-3, that for me has died a death now. It's time to come completely away from that. I think that Arteta's got the majority of the team still at London Colney over these 2 weeks. So big work needs to happen on the formation change in these next 2 weeks.
All right, now let's broaden the window, because January is not that far away. It's like 6-7 weeks away. In that span, we talked about Mikel's ability to take youngsters, Saka most prominently, and to implement them into the system with great success. But now we're looking at Saliba, we're looking at Martinelli are available before that window opens. Willock and Eddie. How much depends on trusting the kids again? And when the window starts, what are you looking for? What are you going out to find?
Is that for me or Sam?
That's for you.
So I would absolutely put my trust in Eddie Nketiah and Joe Willock, and even Reece Nelson if it comes to it. Nelson on the left could even work. I'd put my trust in those guys over players that we've seen before, and they keep doing the same thing every single week. I think Joe Willock has it in him to be the number 8 that we need. He has a little air of Aaron Ramsey about him, where he finds himself in the box at the right time. It's just that he needs to flick that switch where he's starting to get his chances consistently and putting them away. Ramsey went through it in about 2012, 2013. And then the next season, he scored 15 goals. I think Joe Willock can do exactly the same thing. He just needs to get that consistency in his game. So I'd put my trust in him until January. If we can I've seen reports, and his agent has been talking about Arsenal specifically, and it's the guy from Salzburg, Dominic Szoboszlai.
Bosley, I think. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a €25 million release clause that could be paid in 3 installments. If we can get him, you could even have a midfield of him, Partey and Willock, and that just gives us so much of everything you need. Because what I've noticed about Joe Willock as well is, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent on Willock, but
that's okay.
he's very good at his defensive work as well. He's good at going both ways. So I'd put my trust in him and Szoboszlai.
Okay, so that's the plus, but there's a minus, because as we know, this squad is still clotted with Deadwood. Mikel's going to have to go in there with his axe and just start hacking away. Who needs to go out? It seems like Mustafi has got one foot out the door. Who else has got to go with him to make room for these new people, in your opinion?
Do you want me to start ringing them off? Because there's a few.
Well, who realistically? I mean, they're not going to get 8 guys out the door in January. Probably 2 or 3. But besides Mustafi, who you look for?
Mustafi, Kolasinac, Socrates. I'm leaning towards maybe letting Xhaka go. Because
really,
looking at it recently, he's not been in the starting 11. He played at centre back in the Europa League. I think Arteta is moving away from that kind of midfielder now, for some reason beknown to me. So, if an offer comes in, we might have to look at it.
All right, Sam. Now it's your turn. You've been, I know, chomping at the bit, but let's start with the Ian, who from the squad who can step in. He said Joe Willock. Who you're looking at the kids, the people who are still working hard on the bench, and then once you go outside, incoming and outgoing in that order.
I'd agree with the kids. Keep faith in them for the time being. Willock, I think that he needs to be given more of a chance because, to be perfectly honest with you, I think unfortunately Dani Ceballos is showing that he had a purple patch at the end of last season. He hasn't hit form this season, and I still don't know what type of midfielder that he is. And if this is somebody that we're potentially going to be spending 30 to 40 million euros on, what's his defined role? Because I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I'd love somebody to actually tell me what his role within the team actually is. Would I go and sign somebody in the January window? Yes. Would I potentially go? It depends what we're looking to sign and where we're looking to go. The formation is how I answer this. Is because, as Ryan said, if we're currently going as we are right now, or going for a 4-3-3, it's got to be Dominic Szoboszlai. Stumble through it again. But if we're going to go something like a 4-2-3-1, I see rumours that Isco is being offered around Europe, and that Arsenal are one of the clubs that are interested in him. If that is the case, I would say to Real Madrid, if we can, obviously, because there's clauses in loan contracts, I'd cancel Dani Ceballos' loan and go straight after Isco. Because if they're looking for a 6-month loan with an obligation to buy, I'd look at that first and foremost. But if the money's there, just go straight in and buy him, because he would give us such a flexibility in attack, I believe. And again, he's another established player, a player that's been there and done it, but a player that's won things, a player that can transform this club. Again, it's a big name signing. It's an exciting signing.
Outgoing.
But outgoing.
Take a breath. You're gonna need it.
I think if we can, Lacazette, Mustafi, Kolasinac. Again, as I said, I think before, cancel the contracts with Ozil, Socrates, so you've got the freed wages. Possibly send El Neri on loan for 6 months with an obligation. And again, if Arteta, like Ryan said, is coming away from Xhaka, an offer comes in, look at him. There's still a lot in that middle. The big thing with us is the midfield. That's the problem.
I'm going to give you a chance before I move back to Ryan, because you need to share this. Because we were talking after this match that there is a player on Aston Villa's squad who they have on loan who really impressed you and made you think this is a guy who really, maybe not in this window, but certainly in the summer, should be looked at by this football club. And that's Ross Barkley.
Yeah, Ross Barkley should be looked at, because if you look at him, I think Ryan said before we come on, he created 8 or 9 chances against us. And you look at him in that number 10 position that he played for Aston Villa, he was dynamic. he was able to get about the pitch. He linked their play perfectly. He's got an absolute cracking shot on him when he's close to the box. He's English, so it negates the homegrown rule for us. That's something again we need to start looking at. He's I wouldn't say he's a complete midfielder, but he's getting there if he's got a club that he's going to play consistently at. So I think that he's obviously not going to fit in the Chelsea side, given their signings in the summer. I think if he's available for 20, 25 million, I think Arsenal should be all over it.
He is 26. I mean, he's going to turn 27 next month, but that's still fairly young for a rotational player. When you look at Dani Ceballos, who's really about the same age.
But
given,
the thing is,
given
he's coming into
those
prime.
two option, I think you're onto something. All right, we're into injury time here on the pod, gentlemen. We got a chance to catch our breaths, flush this awful result out of our systems. Coming out after the break. It doesn't get easier. There's some tough matches coming right out of the gate there. Ryan, what do you hope for? What do you look for? What do you look for Mikel to do when we come out the other side, briefly?
To put it bluntly, I hope he takes all the clowns out the starting 11. So like Lacazette, Willian, Rob Holding. I just want to see William Saliba. I just want to see him get a chance. Just play him. If he's not up to standard, then so be it. But give him a chance to play. And I want to see Aubameyang through the middle.
Okay.
That's literally it.
That's a good start.
That's all I hope for.
Okay. Short, sweet, to the point. Sam, what's on your wish list?
For me, my wish list is again Orba through the middle, change in formation, finally put this 3-4-3 to bed, never to be seen again, hopefully. And yeah, get the Muppets out of the starting 11. Just no more Muppet shows.
And that's a legit place to stop. Okay, I am going to wrap it up with one word. I want goals when I come out the other side. So, all right, on that note, we can just go around, share it with all of you guys. All right, we want to thank all of you in Video Pod World for joining us here on YouTube and all the other places we're doing it. For me, Raphael, for Ryan, for Sam, I bid you good night. We'll see you soon.
Now